Have you ever been in a room where everyone suddenly becomes obsessed with something? The World Cup is on. People are shouting at screens. Group chats are exploding. Coworkers are discussing players you've never heard of. Friends are making predictions like their lives depend on it. And there you are, completely disconnected, not angry, not trying to be different. You just don't care. And sometimes that feels strange, because when billions of people seem emotionally invested in something, not feeling anything at all can make you wonder, is something wrong with me? But what if not caring about the World Cup says something deeper about the way your mind works? Something most people never notice, something that has almost nothing to do with football. Let's talk about it. Imagine this. A final match is about to start. Your friends are gathered around a television. The atmosphere feels electric. People are excited, nervous. Every goal creates an emotional explosion. Every mistake feels personal, yet somehow none of it reaches you. You watch everyone react, but instead of feeling connected to the game, you find yourself observing the people. You notice their emotions more than the match itself. You wonder why they care so much. You wonder what they're feeling, and maybe you feel like an outsider, not because you want to be, but because your emotional attention is pointed somewhere else. Here's something interesting. Human beings don't actually become obsessed with events. They become obsessed with what those events mean. The World Cup isn't just football. It's belonging, it's identity, it's collective emotion. It's the feeling of being part of something larger than yourself. For many people, supporting a team creates an instant tribe. A tribe gives certainty, connection, purpose, even if only for a few weeks. Psychologically, humans have always searched for tribes. Thousands of years ago, belonging meant survival. Today, the need is still there. It simply takes different forms. Sports, politics, fandoms, online communities, social movements. The details change. The psychology stays the same, but some people experience belonging differently. They don't automatically connect to group identities. Their minds don't easily attach meaning to shared rituals. And because of that, massive cultural events sometimes feel surprisingly distant. Not because they're cold, not because they're arrogant, not because they think they're better than everyone else. Their emotional wiring simply seeks fulfillment somewhere else. Pause for a moment. Think about the things that genuinely capture your attention. Not what you're supposed to care about, not what society celebrates. What actually keeps you awake at night? What makes you curious? What makes you feel alive? For some people, it's art. For others, business, psychology, music, books, relationships, personal goals, ideas, dreams, inner worlds. When your emotional energy is invested in those things, it leaves less space for interests that don't resonate with your deeper values. And that's where many people misunderstand themselves. They assume they should care because everyone else cares, but attention isn't democratic. Your mind doesn't vote based on popularity. It follows meaning, the things that matter to you, the things that connect to your identity, the things that answer questions you're already carrying inside. That's why one person can cry over a football match and another can feel absolutely nothing. Neither reaction is wrong. They're simply responding to different meanings. But there's another layer to this, a deeper one, and it has less to do with football than you might think. Some people who don't care about huge cultural events have spent years feeling emotionally disconnected from the crowd. Maybe they always felt different. Maybe they struggled to fit in. Maybe they learned early that following the group didn't bring them genuine connection. So instead, they developed rich inner worlds. They became observers, thinkers, question askers. They learned to stand outside the circle and watch. Over time, observation became more comfortable than participation. And while that creates incredible self-awareness, it can also create distance, because constantly observing life is not the same as experiencing it. You can understand emotions without fully joining them. You can analyze excitement without feeling excited. You can understand why people care without caring yourself. And sometimes that ability becomes so natural that you don't even notice it happening. You become the spectator of spectators, watching everyone else watch the game. Pause again. Have you ever noticed how often you observe your own life instead of living it? How often you analyze conversations while they're happening? How often you think about emotions instead of feeling them? Many overthinkers know exactly what this feels like. The mind becomes a commentator, always talking, always interpreting, always watching, rarely resting, and sometimes not caring about things like the World Cup isn't really about sports. It's about a deeper habit, the habit of staying emotionally detached. Not intentionally, just automatically. But here's the twist. Not everyone who doesn't care is detached. In fact, some are the opposite. Some people care so deeply about certain things that everything else feels insignificant. They have limited emotional bandwidth. Their attention is already occupied by personal battles, private dreams, hidden fears, family responsibilities, career pressures, questions about purpose, questions about love, questions about who they are becoming. When you're carrying those things, a football match can feel very small, not because it lacks value, but because your inner world is demanding all your energy. And most people never see that. They see someone who doesn't care. They don't see the invisible weight that person is carrying, the silent thoughts, the private struggles, the unfinished conversations happening inside their head. That's why judging people based on what excites them is dangerous. You never know what emotional story they're living. You never know what occupies their attention. When nobody is watching, the loudest passions are visible. The deepest ones usually aren't. And perhaps that's the real lesson. The World Cup reveals something fascinating about human psychology, not because of football, but because it shows how differently people experience meaning. Some people find connection through shared excitement. Others find connection through reflection. Some people lose themselves in crowds. Others discover themselves in solitude. Some feel alive chanting with thousands of strangers. Others feel alive sitting alone with the thought that changes their perspective forever. Neither path is superior. They're simply different expressions of being human. So if you've ever felt strange for not caring about the World Cup, if you've ever wondered why everyone else seemed emotionally invested while you felt nothing, maybe the answer isn't that you're disconnected. Maybe you're connected to something else, something quieter, something more personal, something the crowd cannot see. And perhaps that's okay, because life isn't about caring about what everyone cares about. It's about discovering what genuinely matters to you, the things that make you feel present, the things that make you feel curious, the things that make you feel alive. And once you find those things, you stop worrying about what you're supposed to care about. You start paying attention to what your heart was trying to tell you all along. Not everyone will cheer for the same team. Not everyone will follow the same crowd. Not everyone will feel the same excitement. And that's exactly what makes people interesting, because beneath every obsession and beneath every indifference, there is always a deeper story waiting to be understood.